For over 500 years, animal testing has been one of the most used ways of testing drugs and beauty products all around the world. In the words of Charles R. Miguel, ask the experimenters why they experiment on animals, and the answer is because animals are like us. Ask the experimenters why it is morally okay to experiment on animals, and the answer is because animals are not like us. Animal experimentation rests on a logical contradiction. So, how did it all start? Going back to the last couple of centuries, beauty products started becoming really popular, and lots of new products entered the market. However, there weren't very many regulations and laws to make sure that they were safe for consumer use. This meant that some people got burnt, scarred, or even worse from trying out new dodgy items. Countries were forced to introduce laws that made cosmetic companies ensure their products were safe before they could be sold. Unfortunately, their only option was to test on animals. Researchers would put substances on the skins of creatures like rats, rabbits, dogs, cats, and guinea pigs to look for blistering or scarring. Or if the product was in their eyes, they would test for redness or burning. Did you know, according to Cruelty Free International, approximately 115 million animals are reportedly used worldwide for animal testing each year? Because of their environment and also the procedures performed on them, animal test subjects are frequently put under severe stress and pain. Animals usually develop neurotic behaviors over time, biting themselves, pulling out their fur or skin, and incessantly spinning in circles. This is a practice that is still legal in most countries around the world, including Australia. Animal-based research is widely used in agriculture and basic scientific explorations, contrary to the perception of the general public, which believes that it's mostly concentrated in the field of medicine. The argument animal testing saves lives is becoming increasingly weaker as science advances to other substitutions, such as CRISPR, organs on chips, and various computer simulations. On the other hand, although numerous alternatives to the use of animals have been developed, the inability to utilize the options is too often caused by inertia, lack of funding, and reluctance to deviate from traditional methods. In fact, in some places like China or Brazil, imported cosmetics actually have to be tested on animals before they can be sold there. In addition to this, hundreds of non-human primates and other animals are being used in experimental medical procedures and for research in universities and institutions around the nation every year. These curiosity-driven experiments are funded by tax dollars and health charities. Primate breeding facilities supply these Australian researchers with animals for experimentation, supplemented by the importation of animals from overseas countries where poaching and habitat destruction is the major factor in falling wildlife populations, with some breeds of macaque monkey being critically endangered almost to the point of extinction. Notwithstanding for all our apparent likenesses, the results of animal experiments on non-human primates cannot be directly applied to humans, since the 1.6% of difference in our DNA actually means a lot. This means that ultimately hundreds of primates and other animals are being killed every year in tests that have viable animal-free alternatives which are cheaper, cruelty-free, and more reliable. This knowledge, as well as the ethical considerations for animals, have led many people to be concerned about the continued use of ineffective and outdated animal methods in medical research. They prefer to support health charities that sponsor more responsible and humane alternatives. Nevertheless, the Australian Code of Practice for the Care and Use of Animals for Scientific Purposes offers very little protection for animals in laboratories. It is a self-regulating system which allows researchers to deliberately induce biological stress, catch and kill protected wild fauna, and inflict pain and distress through any injury, trauma, and disease. Little is regarded when it comes to the torture of powerless animals under this inadequate legislation. Whoa, that was... Research has shown that classroom dissections can make a significant number of students at every educational level uncomfortable. Studies also suggest that exposing young people to animal dissection as science can foster callousness towards animals and nature, even dissuade some from pursuing careers in science. Students don't need to cut up animals to understand basic anatomy and physiology. Those who plan to go into a medical field would do better to study humans in a controlled and supervised setting, examine human cadavers, or use any of the many non-animal teaching methods available, such as computer models and sophisticated simulators. Despite all this, people still support animal experimentation. True, it was responsible for the creation of penicillin, the pacemaker, as well as a further understanding into asthma, breast cancer, and macular degeneration. But a majority of this knowledge was gained at a time where one couldn't simulate the functions and reactions of a liver on a computer. Even though here in Australia animal testing doesn't occur anymore, it is still legal, and you can still find heaps of items tested on animals overseas on your local supermarket shelves. That's why the government has now stepped in. The good news is that by July next year, animal testing for cosmetics will be officially banned in Australia. The ban will also apply to new cosmetic products tested on animals overseas, but not items which are already stocked in shops. But until then, look out for cruelty-free logos on products that you are buying, and hopefully, one day, no animal will need to suffer for the profit of humankind.
Thanks for watching. But before you go, please check out our Facebook and Instagram, brought to